Now this picture here is a picture of the Presbyterian Church, which is located on the corner of North Mill Street and 2nd Street on the west corner. And this was one of the first churches. You can see the old picket fence in front of this one here. And that street you can see is nothing but mud. That's all that Mill Street was at that time, North Mill Street, or Kenner's Hill, whatever you want to call it. It's been called, but that is nothing but a pigsty right through there, going through there. Some of it you can see a few stepping stones in front of the church. And they was supposed to start in 1872, and they held that was called the Joachim Presbyterian Church. It was organized in 1872 in the Minot School on the old Telegraph Road, which they call that the old Telegraph Road, the one that come over through Herky and over Scenic Drive up at Herculaneum, and then on down into Festus to Kenner's Hill, and on down through Festus on to St. Genevieve. At that time it was called Telegraph Road. And in the 1870s they started having Sunday schools held. Service was held there at the Haywood School. I don't know if the Haywood's a Hawkwood School at that time was called the old McNutt School or what, because that was, it says Hawkwood Schoolhouse. That's where they held their services there also. And the founder of the church was a man by the name of Stewart. And Ephraim Williams, I remember him from history. He was a carpenter over at Pittsburgh, one of the first carpenters over at Pittsburgh when they opened up their plant down there, and he did other places in town. And another old timer that was in the community at that time was old Fred Holdinghouse. He owned a place up on top of Crystal Heights up there. William Holdinghouse and Fred Holdinghouse had property up there. And in 1902, the railroad come through there, and that house, or that church, a house of worship, that house was taken from there, which I'll show pictures in a minute, but that church was moved from there where the corner of that's a vacant lot now across from where the grocery store is up there on Frisco Street. A man by the name of Mr. Mo had a lumber company in there before that, and the church was there, and they moved that church down Mill Street, and they took the church and moved it, like I was saying, and that was the Presbyterian Church down there on 2nd Street and North Mill. Now here's a lot better picture of the church. We moved it down here on 2nd Street and Adams Street. You can see the pastor had a cow there for milking next to the corner lot there, and here's the fence for the church property, and then the corner lot would come just like here, and you can look and see that the street was nothing but mud again. And that's Mill Street. There's a house right here, right there. There's a house that was up on, probably on the next corner. But that must have been a winter scene that this picture was taken at, because there's snow all over the ground. And this is a pretty neat old picture. This picture here is a picture of moving the church from up on Frisco Street where the railroad went through, and North Mill Street, and it shows them pulling that house. Right here is a man behind his big pole, is about the size of a telephone pole, and they've got ropes on the church, and they have mules over here, right over here, that's pulling around this pole and pulling that church on down the street for a new location. You can see a few houses here on this side look like they're pretty darn old. Like I say, that was probably in the 1880s when they started that, and they're moving the house on down to this new location, or it's the location of its present time. Now here's a pictured a little bit closer up where you don't see the men with the mules and that, but you can see the timbers underneath the church there, right across through there, that the church is sitting on, and they're coming down the street. It looks like they got board sidewalks here on both sides of the street. There are board sidewalks. The street is like, it must have been pretty hot day, because in the fall and in the summer when we have our rains here, the streets were nothing but mud. In fact, I remember reading an article in 1887, I think it was. They said that I don't know if it was a joke or what, but it was in a paper. It said that 4 boys were saved from drowning on Festus Main Street. But many of the pictures I have showed the street is nothing but mud and stepping stones, what they call stepping stones. But that church was moved down there, and I think the church in 1908, they began to get fairly active as far as church members in their congregation, and they outgrown the church, and they start building on to it and changing around. But that was in 1908. They'd start money raisers to start improving on their church, and that church was like I say, in 1872 it was called the Joachim Presbyterian Church, and then a new name they changed it in 1908 to just the First Presbyterian Church of Festus. But before that, why, which a lot of our churches, not a lot of them, but a few of our different denominations has changed from their original names to the names they have this present day. Now this is the First Baptist Church of Crystal City. Started the first Baptist mission on Horion Road in Bluff City in 1943, April 1943. The basement under the present chapel out there was built in 1945, and the mission met there until they were organized of the original auditorium, which was built in 1959. And the church and the auditorium was built in 1951. The basement of the original church was 1949, and then they met there until the original auditorium was built in 1951. And it was organized as a Second Baptist Church of Festus in 1953 by Brother Leroy Pratt. He was the pastor at the time. And we'll scan this because it's a pretty big picture, but that shows a school which we're not into yet. That was part of the church there. first, and then they built this church here, which is the one that's there in 2003. This is the existing church where they hold their services during the week. That was the first church, and then they had their school and that, which we're not in the schools yet. We're just into the church. Maybe we'll get time enough to go through all the schools that was in our twin cities. But this is the Second Baptist Church in Festus, and it was organized in May 1953 by Leroy Pratt. He was the pastor at the time. This is the first local Baptist church, and it was located in Festus. We're going to show some of the pictures. It's in Crystal because the Festus Baptist Church originally started in Festus and became Crystal City Baptist Church. But this is the first church, and some say that it was on Warren Street, and I have my doubts. I don't know where it really was because it's before my time. But it was organized in 1890. The Baptist Church was, and some say it was that they bought a lot up on Warren Street. And what I'm thinking, because an old man by the name of Obashan had built the first Catholic church in Festus, said that he stayed at a bowyer's house, a rooming house in Festus, on Moore Street and Gray Street in Festus. And before that it was a rooming house, and then he said where the present Baptist church is. So I really don't know if it was on Warren Street or Moore and Gray Street. Two different stories on that. But this is the picture of the Baptist church. It resembles the one that's on Gray Street, which is still there today. The building is. And it was organized in 1890 with 28 in attendance at the first church. And then the church, and then it held, like I say, it serves like a lot of the other churches did. Start out, they held them at different buildings in Festus and Crystal City. They until they had their own congregation enough to raise money to build a church. It says in 1899, the frame structure 60 by 30 with a stone foundation, and in 1899 it was completed as a frame structure, and that's when I'm thinking it's on Gray Street there. And then in 1923 they started building their other church, which was down where it is existing today, only a lot more, not a lot of improvements made on it. It was in 1910 that they could start holding services every day that they wanted to. But 1923 they started a building down on Truman Boulevard. Today was old Highway 61, 67, down at the stoplights. Now here's a picture of the church down at the stoplight between Festus and Crystal City, and in the background you can see the church, the present church of today, that's down there. In the background back here you can see there the church that they started back there. Well, then it looks to me that this building they did away with and they put, after they did away with the old church of 1923, this is the buildings they put in where the old buildings were, plus the parking lot here, across through here. But that's the new buildings they put down there. There's a picture of today, the way it looks today, the original, the front of the church facing the highway. That's the old picture. That's the Baptist church. Now this picture here is Ward's Chapel. Don't have much information on Ward's Chapel. Outside the chapel was organized in 1888, and that's on South Adams Street and South 4th Street. That was the Ward's Chapel. This is Mount Pilgrim's Free Will Baptist Church, and it's on South 4th Street and Strawberry Avenue. Now, when it was formed, I don't have the information on that sucker, on the church, but that one's pretty darn old also. Okay, this in here is the Mount Pilgrim Baptist Church. That's one of the oldest churches in our community. And that was organized 30 years before the first church ever had a small room. It was 2 lots. And that is the Emmanuel. This one here is the Emmanuel Pentecost Ward Chapel AM, and the St. John's Methodist Church. This one here is the Emmanuel Pentecost Church, and it was formed in 1891. Pentecost Church, and that's up on Beffa Street and the top of South Adam, at the very top of the hill there on Beffa Street. You'd run straight into it if you went up the South Adam Street going south naturally. Okay, this one here is like we were saying, this is on 4th Street on Strawberry Avenue. I bet you nobody in town knows where Strawberry Avenue is, but if you go by to see where the church was, you'll find out. The Strawberry Avenue runs alongside the church. Here, this is Strawberry. The sign here's Strawberry Alley there, but it's actually on South 4th Street, across from the Douglas Gym is where the old Douglas Gym, the school, not the gym, but the old Douglas School is where this church is located there. And the ones that I'm telling you about these churches now, if you want any additional information, you can look in Howard Litton's book. I would imagine he has more written stuff. Like I say, I'm a guy that's into pictures, and Howard probably has these different churches and a little more history on them than what I provided for you, because I like the pictures. I like to look at the pictures. They tell me a lot more than just the reading part of it. But like I say, if you're interested, or if you're library, why you can get those 2 books. You can't check them out, but Howard has all the history when they originate. That's the only one that I can't remember what year the doggone thing started. Thank you for your time. Thank you very much.